Welcome back to Just Chattin, and this is the series of videos we do on Thursday and Sunday evenings just for our own entertainment. So for all you Audie fans, well, here he is. All right, yes, all right, okay, I got to put him up. He is sucking up to me because he was a very naughty cat over the last couple of days. Let's see, I don't know if you can see the cat bite here, and I got another one right here. Yes, that is because I was binge watching Nutmeg's show, and I was sloppy. I did let the earbuds slip a couple of times, but in fact, one of these bites, this one, was not a result of Audie hearing her voice, which I know he hates. It actually got so bad that he hopped in my lap, saw her face on the screen, turned around, and bit me. So his aversion to her is getting a lot worse over time. And now, because he had such a traumatic experience, I have to give him extra cuddle. So, yellow, right here, in the pin. And this is for Catherine, for Lex's mom, for everybody who's coping with cancer. And I'm sorry we just don't have time to name everyone individually, but we are sending out our very best wishes to all of you for a swift and complete recovery. So, after the intro, when we come back, we are just going to get into Nutmeg's new television show. Okay, while we were watching the intro, I went and got a clip for my hair because it was falling in my face and driving me crazy. So, with Love, Meghan, Nutmeg's new show. What a disaster. For starters, Netflix dropped the whole thing all at once. And people were predicting that. They were saying that they were going to handle it the same way they handled Polo. Just drop all of the shows so they could just move on and distance themselves from it. Because it seems likely that Netflix knew what a joke this was going to be. How could they not? So that was how I got the opportunity, if you want to call it that, to binge watch this. It was grueling. This is the most boring show I have ever seen, like ever. It was, okay, for starters, each episode is about 35 minutes long, not including things like end credits. And I say about because not exactly. I am accustomed, because I grew up in the days when people took television production seriously. I am accustomed to a show having a certain fixed runtime. Even if not every show had a certain fixed runtime, every episode within a show would have a certain fixed runtime. This one, no. It was everything from something like 34 minutes up to 38 or 39 minutes. Your guess is as good as mine, because I'm not going back to watch it with a stopwatch. That was one of the first things that struck me as unusual, because that is a serious production failure. Let's walk away from that for a moment. The show was mind-numbing. It was the same episode times 8. So you have Nutmeg talking endlessly about how much joy she gets out of cooking for people. And even if you actually cared about how happy this made her at the beginning, trust me, by episode 5, you just didn't care anymore because it was the same thing over and over again. I get so much joy from this. I've been doing this all my life. I love making people happy. I love feeding people. I love cooking. And this whole Stepford wife nonsense. And I think most of us have the common sense to realize that no one who lives in a house with 16 bathrooms is doing their own cooking for breakfast in the morning. No. Just the house alone demands a certain level of staff. That staff demands a certain level of food procurement and preparation. So come on. That is just nonsense. But she's selling us this bill of goods as if we're actually supposed to believe it. And while we're on that, let's just move over to the set. At the very first episode, and she says this a few times throughout the entire season of this show, this is not her house. This is not her kitchen. This is not her garden. But then she will, in the next breath, say, well, such and so is dropping by. Dropping by your house or dropping by your set. People do not drop by your set. People are appearing on your show. And this is not your house, so why would they be dropping by? Such and so is coming over for the weekend. What, on your set? It was a level of schizophrenia that was hard to cope with because my house, my kitchen, not my kitchen, my garden, not my garden. And meanwhile, the camera crew was panning around to show the people who were on set, the technical people, the film crew, show them, and they were interacting with Nutmeg. They would be having conversations with her, which were being filmed, asking her questions, presumably to try to keep her on target, who knows. But it was a chaotic mess. I have nothing against breaking the fourth wall. It can be very effective, as anyone who's ever seen Deadpool knows. And frankly, Gentleman Jack did that too. By the way, I think there are 2 seasons of that. Whatever. If you haven't seen Gentleman Jack, give it a look. It's a good show. It can be effective to break the fourth wall. But there was virtually no fourth wall here to break. It's like, this is my set. This is my kitchen. We're going out in the backyard to have a tea party. Whose backyard is it? And then so much of the filming, I guess it was sort of the ambience filming, where they're showing the setting, was filmed in somebody else's house, somebody else's yard, somebody else's garden. So you couldn't keep track of what was going on, where you were supposed to be. And in the end, you walk away with a firm belief that this is not the reality that Nutmeg is presenting it to be, but that it's a scripted show. That these are people who are there pretending to be Nutmeg's guests, pretending to be Nutmeg's friends, whatever. You never lose sight of the performative nature of the entire show, even though they seem determined to try to take that away from you. It's like, no, we're just friends here. We're just having fun. We're just kidding around, doing whatever it is we do when we get together. But there's a film crew right there, and you just showed it to us. And that's not your garden. So you walk out the door, where is it you're going? It was jarring, and it gave a very schizophrenic quality to the entire show. And I have to say, all that did at the end of the day was create an ambience of absolute inauthenticity. If part of it is fake, your mind just rejects all of it and says, this must all be fake. this is all a scripted show. And I think that was probably one of the things that will backfire on Nutmeg the most. The fact that she's pretending to present reality while pretending to be honest about what they're doing. No. In the end, it all comes off as completely fake, completely phony, a complete setup. It was interesting to see how the guests interacted with Nutmeg and how Nutmeg interacted with the guests. Because most of the guests, I'm going to go whole hog in and say all of them, were fawning over Nutmeg to a nauseating degree. And Nutmeg, in turn, was love bombing on them to a nauseating degree. Why nauseating? Because she admitted that at least two, I could be more, but at least two of her guests were total strangers, and she claimed she was meeting them for the first time when they got onto her My Kitchen, Not My Kitchen film set. And she just love-bombed the daylights out of them. So I do find this interesting because I did get a chance to see what Nutmeg's like when she's in total love bomb mode. And I am stunned that anyone could ever buy into this because it's so absurdly over the top. It's like sycophantic. It's fawning. It's drooling. Oh, you're the best. I've admired you for years. I love the way you do this. Get a grip, girl. And they were feeding that back to her. So it's very clear that whenever these people got together, presumably for their sitting around the table doing the initial script read-throughs, the director certainly had to have given them instructions that they were to gush all over Nutmeg. It's like, yeah, you may think it's over the top, but it's not. This is Hollywood, by golly, and we want over the top. It was nauseating. No reasonable person could be anything but revolted by that. If someone had treated me the way she was treating those people, I would have taken 2 steps back. Absolutely. It gave me a very, very real sense of what poor Catherine must have gone through when she first met Nutmeg and was subjected to that love bombing. No wonder she backed away, because you just look at it and say, I hope this isn't contagious. It was scary, just really scary. It was like there was something psychologically off about what was going on there. And it did not read as authentic at all. And remember, authenticity, the plug got pulled on that a long time ago with this My Kitchen, Not My Kitchen, My Friends, My Guests, My Garden, but not my garden. Maybe that whole schizophrenic backdrop pulled the plug on any possible authenticity that might have been interpreted from what was going on. At one point, Mindy Kaling, out of the blue, and in no way related to anything that was happening, looks at Nutmeg and says, we got to talk about your look. I'm thinking Skywalker, right? I don't know what the heck Nutmeg was thinking, but Mindy Kaling is a comedian, and who knows, maybe they told her she had to say that, and she decided she was going to play it for laughs. It turns out what she was saying was look. She wanted to compliment Nutmeg on her great sense of style. Nutmeg was wearing beige trousers from Zara, a beige short-sleeved sweater from Loro Piana. By the way, I got curious, and I actually wanted to see what short-sleeved Loro Piana sweaters are going for. My best guess on that one is about $3,500. So, and she's got another beige and white striped sweater over her shoulders. I'm surprised the 1980s wasn't on the phone to her demanding that look back. Thank you very much. But it was beige on beige on beige and dated. And so that was what Mindy Kaling was trying to compliment her on out of the blue. That wasn't the only time this happened. And that led me to believe that the guests, who I expect were just performers, just like Nutmeg, that the guests were coached before going on, that they should try to compliment Nutmeg on this or that or the other thing. In Mindy's case, I guess her instructions were to compliment her on her style. And I don't know what to tell you. It was so out of place. It was so weird when she's like, I want to compliment you on your look. Wow. It's just like you felt like you walked into the middle of something, but you didn't know what it was. And again, this happened on other occasions. That whole, friend dynamic, if you will, that was a dog that won't hunt. Because even if these people are actually her friends, and some of them may be, it didn't come off like a group of friends. It came off like a group of performers, actors, actresses, pretending to be friends, because it was so over the top. It was so crazy over the top. Now, we all have close friends. We all know this. Close friends with whom we are very affectionate and intimate in many ways. But we generally don't take that out of, the privacy of our own kitchen, and we don't share it with the rest of the world, because these are private moments between you and your friends. And I think when they were trying to do that sort of thing, again, it brought home the fact that this was utter inauthenticity. So, move away from all that, because I could run on about that all afternoon. If you go to this show because you're looking for some cooking advice, you're not going to get it. All of the meals were slapdash, slapped together, incredibly unsophisticated, and even when she had restaurateurs there, none of this was really sufficiently explained, and even they were saying, just throw a little in till it feels good. My goodness, I'm just picturing Julia Child saying that to someone. No, not, because she wouldn't. There's no actual recipes. If you were looking for a recipe for something, you're not going to get it there. Because one of the people, and this was a chef, Alice Waters, comes on, and she's going to make quiche. And they've already got a pre-packaged quiche shell. Like, seriously? Seriously? You're not even making your own pastry for the quiche? Okay, I'm not going to go into that. Another woman was making Chinese dumplings. They're not even making the dumpling wrappings. Oh, we're just going to make the dumpling filling. That's not a cooking show. No. And the idea that, what you're supposed to be doing is just, hey, we're having fun. This is joy. It doesn't have to be perfect. Oh, we are so far from perfect. It's not even funny. So if you were thinking, I might get a recipe, no, you won't. Forget that. If you were thinking, I might get an interesting way to present food, well, I might have bought into that until they took this little party out into the garden, and this was with Delphine Figueres, Nacho's wife, and the dog was eating the food off the plates they were eating off of. So, no, you're not going to get good presentation. What you're going to get is dog spit. It was crazy like that. It was so slapped together, slapdash. It was as if nothing had been prepared, nothing had been thought through. It was as if there was no legitimate cook anywhere involved in this to say, let's start tracking the ingredients. Why don't we just put up the ingredients in an overlay on the screen? No, nothing like that. If that's what you were looking for, you're not getting it. Because, of course, it's all about nutmeg. And this was nothing more than nutmeg trying to sell the world on what a wonderful, caring person she is, how fabulous she is. A cook, a beekeeper, a flower arranger. Oh, and when she wasn't complimenting her own work, she was begging other people for compliments. Isn't this delicious? Isn't this great? Oh, did you make that? The fishing for compliments back and forth was absurd. It really was. And everybody was selling something. That's another thing to keep in mind. The guests all had something they were putting forth. A hairdresser, someone who owns a beauty and wellness company, again, selling, three people who have their own restaurants. That's what they're hyping. Everybody was merchandising something, but mostly it was Nutmeg merchandising her own line, the successor of American Riviera Orchard, which I guess is as ever. I don't know. We're not even sure she's got that name yet. We'll see. That's what she's hyping. And everybody else everybody had an axe to grind, basically. It was like this giant infomercial disguised as being in somebody's house, but not their house because we've got a film crew. So I was left shell-shocked, really. I do want to say that one of the things I wanted to mention, because this came up in the episode with Mindy Kaling, and this was episode number 2, where Nutmeg announced that she was not Meghan Markle, she's Meghan Sussex. So she is into this trad wife thing 110%. It's like, yeah, I'm even going to take his name. Well, it's not even his name. Who knows? And by the way, I'm not sure she can actually take that name legally in the United States unless she goes before a court, because I don't think the United States legal system recognizes a name derived from a title the way I think they do in the UK. But the sock puppet came to this country as Harry Mountbatten Windsor, which would be the name associated with his wife. Who knows? But yeah, she's now Meghan Sussex. How interesting. But that is part of why I was so shocked by this whole Stepford wife thing, because Nutmeg, for the last 6 or 7 years, has been drowning us in the fact that she's a feminist and she wants women's rights and women to be taken seriously. And now, after having a legitimate identity of her own with her own name, she's taking her husband's name. Yeah. I can remember a time when you didn't have a choice and you had to. And those of us who didn't had to fight to get there. So, yeah, spit on all our hard work, why don't you? But don't call yourself a feminist. That was just frosting on the cake. She is into 100% Stepford wife. She was even wearing Stepford wife dresses. It was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So this is basically my overview of it. You missed nothing. Nothing. This was her giant ego stroke. If they had taken each episode and cut 15 minutes of fluff out of it, and believe me, there was at least 15 minutes that could have been cut out, well, it still would have been dreadful, but it wouldn't have been nearly as boring, because all it was Nutmeg praising Nutmeg, inviting people on the show to praise Nutmeg, and then she is love bombing them in return. Unbelievable. I mean, it's like I thought I had seen it all from her, but not even close. Is this going to go anywhere and do anything? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The show is terrible. It took all I could do to watch like an entire episode. I couldn't even sit down. The episodes were 35 minutes. I could not sit through a single episode for 35 minutes. I would watch maybe 10 minutes of it, get up, do something, come back, and then force myself to watch another 10 minutes. Could I watch it start to finish? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, and mind you, I had a reason for watching this. I was watching this so I could share it with you. Still couldn't bring myself to do it. It's like homework you just don't want to do. So, when we get together Sunday, I'm going to get into some specifics, some particulars of what were, well, interesting moments. There was at least one. Cringe moments, that'll be a hard choice. There were so many. But there were things I think I would like you to see for yourselves in this. I promise I will keep it brief and little tiny snippets. I have to because my cat is here and you know he's not going to let me put a lot on film. So I will be able to show you some so that you'll have more of a sense of what I was talking about. And this was just the overview. What a disaster. What an absolute disaster. All right, that is what I have for you. I hope to see you on the weekend where we do our projects and thrifting and escape from 2020 and so on, our weekend videos. Those are the Coffee and Conversation. Please feel free to join us. And for those of you who just stick with Just Chattin', we'll be back Sunday night. And like I say, I think I'm going to pull some specifics out of this to give you more of a flavor of what was going on. All right, we're going to take a look at a slideshow on the way out. And in the meanwhile, have a terrific day.